Thomas. What have you done, Thomas? I thought you'd been working on one amp. You've been working on more than one. You've been busy. Get on board. We're gonna kill some giants.
My preview hinted at the fact that TS A75 is a giant killer. Okay, I'm going to say this. I'm about to swear, and I am not going to censor it with a beep.
I fucking hate the word giant killer. Especially when it's used without explaining context and explaining why it is a giant killer.
Do I consider this amplifier a giant killer? For several reasons. Air resolution. Just gives you an immersive and engaging soundstage. It's powerful bass, tight, controlled. You feel the instruments. The highs and upper mid-range are sweet and sparkle. It gives you some dynamic and intense, but yet soft. Galion TS A75, all that. $14.95 USD, giant killer. What I'm going to do to explain why I think this is a giant killer, I'm also going to do it in context. I'm going to look at a few topics that this amplifier can do. It's right next to me. It's right there. So first context is for amplifiers under $2,000 that I have heard and spent time with, that I have experience with. So I'm going to compare that range. Second context is going to be with amplifiers that are under $5,000 that I have personally heard, I have personally spent a lot of time with. And the third context that I will score these topics on is on an all price range. Price no object category based on any high-end, super expensive amp that I have personally listened to, have experienced for more than just a single listening session. I am not talking about experience by going to audio shows. I'm talking about my experiences based on these amplifiers that I have had the privilege of using in my room, in my system, and had to play with to try to match with good equipment so that I would obtain some kind of synergy. Okay, no, wait, stop. Okay, we need to rewind. I want to share my first impressions first before we do the scores. Let me describe in full transparency what I felt, what I thought about when I first listened to it. So the first track I listened to was Peppery Man by Natalie Merchant. Yeah, I know. How original.
Oh, the peppery man was so cross and thin.
But I mean, of all the audiophile tracks out there, it's a good song. I like it. You know when the song starts, the lows of those three guys at the beginning? Have you heard of the Peppery Man? Oh yeah, I heard about him. And at first, their voices sounded good to me. It sounded like what I expected. There was a good amount of heft and a good amount of weight in the lower mids in their voices. Like, these are deep male voices. But quickly, something grabbed my attention. Spaciousness, the air. Yeah, it was quite captivating. And then when Natalie comes in singing, dead center, super clean, high resolution, but not too crisp. And again, airy, spacious. There's a good amount of distance between her and the instruments and the voices. Then what grabbed me is the resolution. I don't mean the detail, the clarity, the effortless wave of sound and energy that was coming. That was very surprising, very surprising. And as the song progresses and you get to that part in the song where the singer, Natalie, my friend Natalie, was actually reaches that first peak. Maybe I'll dub her voice here instead of me.
You old fish.
When she hits that fierce note, like the dynamics and the attack in her voice almost felt like it was going to get to a level or a peak that would be fatiguing. You know, when you anticipate that happening, all like what I'm about to describe all happens in a microsecond. When you have experience and you've been listening to these tracks for so much and with so many different gear, your body and your brain starts to anticipate when you think things are going to get harsh or things are going to get fatiguing when they peak like that in the highs. I felt that subtle jolt of energy inside me as I was bracing for it, almost kind of like, oh, here it comes. But no, the TS A75 hold back just at the right time so that it didn't get fatiguing. It didn't get irritating to my ears. It just became dense, present, clear, and then quick, soft turn, and whew, never got fatiguing. Very nice. But it was a solid note. Like, nice. It's convincing. So the air, the resolution, and then farther along into the song, when that drum and that bass starts to kick in, that's when I thought, Thomas, what have you done, Thomas?
Once I heard that from the Peppery Man, I said, all right, let's put on some bass tracks. Let's see how deep this rabbit hole goes. So here's a quick snippet. There are no bass drivers on here. As you can see, my crown is off. There won't be any lights flashing whatsoever. It's just open baffle, full ranges. Yep. The impact was pretty damn solid, even with just using these full range drivers on an open baffle, which is not normally a recipe for impactful and controlled tight bass.
Thomas always tells me that the type of sound he goes for and loves is a really warm and smooth mid-range. But this is now 2 amplifiers that he voices in a V-curve. Why? So a V-curve, if you don't know, it just means that there's a bump in the highs, a bump in the bass, or a slight dip in the mid-range. So the mid-range is slightly lower than the output of the highs and the bass. And there's also many degrees of V-curves. Some V-curves are extremely pronounced. One of the things that happens when it's too pronounced is the magic goes away. You don't feel engaged. The air of the soundstage, the level of presence in the music just starts to fade away, and all you have is an excessive amount of detail and information hitting your ears, leading to fatigue, along with a massive thump, which usually, in the bass, that usually leads to muddy and boominess. So V-curve is fun, don't get me wrong. People are all like, want to go with a fully neutral system with neutral gear. It's very hard to do, because your room acoustics will not allow you to have neutrality just by having neutral gear. Sorry, it's just how it is.
So let's stop talking about neutrality, but let's talk more about balance. It's about balance. It's about the range that you keep the V-curve in. Because everybody's got different flavors. Some people like rock concerts. Some people prefer a little jazz club. Others, they want to go see a big orchestral symphony. Again, everything works. It's just about balance, because we all have different tastes.
So if you buy all absolutely neutral gear everywhere and you don't take care of your room, you ain't gonna have a neutral presentation. It's not gonna be a neutral result. And you know what? Music isn't meant to be neutral. It's not. Music is passion, it's emotions, it's experiences, it's life. Life, it's not neutral, it's not flat. It's all over the place. We'll love it. Back to the A75 and its V-curve. It's a smooth V-curve, aka the fun kind of V-curve. But on top of that V-curve, you add a level of resolution and air that is uncommon for amplifiers at this price range. Price range? Well under $2,000. What's it going to be, like around, Thomas, around 1,400 US, 1,500 US dollars?
First, let's look at the air and the resolution like I've been talking about. Seriously, on this price bracket for a solid state amp, this is by far a personal best for me. Never heard anything come this close in this price range. It even rivals amplifiers that I've experienced, up to $5,000. And again, like mentioned for bass, also, this is a new personal best for me in this price bracket. Never seen anything this controlled, this powerful, this much impact. And while the impact is strong and controlled, the resolution perceives through the bass. Like you can easily tell what's generating the bass between a stand-up bass, a kick drum, or bass guitar while they're all playing together at the same time. That is truly impressive for an amplifier at this price point. Like I mentioned in my first impressions, it's so dynamic and the tonality is so intense. There's such a flow in the notes that come at you. It's captivating. And normally at this price bracket, especially with a solid state amp, doesn't get that softness. You end up usually having to struggle with a little bit of harshness on the top end with this level of dynamic contrast and intensity. So yeah, the relationship between the highs and the upper mids on this amplifier is just stunning. String instruments sound amazing. Trumpets sound amazing. Female vocals sound amazing. Yeah, I think the softness comes and rounds everything up and balances it out. So in the price range of a under $2,000 amp, for me, man, it's among the best out there. And when it comes to amplifiers, even under $5,000, like it holds its own with some of the best. It really does. And it surpasses many amplifiers in that bracket too. Yeah, it's awesome. Yep, and we're dealing with a V-curved voiced amp, so for sure the mid-range is not going to be on the extremely warm side. But very satisfactory, still very good. It's articulate, it's very textured. It's wonderful. You do get a sense and feel for the instruments. Sure, other amps in this price bracket might have can do this better. Not all of them, some of them can. So I'm still rating this as an 8. It's very good. But I don't think I've ever found an amplifier under $2,000 bracket that does mid-ranges better than this and does everything else better. I've yet to experience that.
What you hear, what you experience, has a lot to do with the whole kit and caboodle. It's not just about the speakers. It's not just about the amp. It's not just about the DAC. It's not just about the turntable. It's not just about the room. It's not just about the cables. It's not just about the power. It is about everything. This is what people have to understand about equipment that you would call a giant killer. A giant killer doesn't do everything better than a high-end amplifier. But it does a bunch of things good enough or better that could make you consider an amplifier or a piece of gear that is of smaller price if those things fall into the categories of what you value in your sound that creates engagement and emotions for you.
Man, the world's gone digital. Even our opinions. Everything's either a 1 or a 0. It's either the best or it's the worst. In my opinion, life is not digital. It's analog. There's lots of layers between a 0 and a 1 in life. So this is my opinion. This is based on my experience, my values. It's the same thing for any reviewer. They're just people that slap labels on people's work based on their perceptions. Nobody is an authority on what you like, except you.